The Galactic Alliance had existed for over 1,000 years, binding dozens of advanced species together under one flag. Its members claimed peace, cooperation, and shared progress. But behind the polished speeches and shining halls, suspicion always lingered. Alliances were built on convenience, not trust, and trust was something the humans had never fully earned. Humanity was still new to the stars. Barely 2 centuries had passed since their first faster-than-light ship had broken, free of Sol's gravity. In that short time, they had expanded quickly, claiming barren moons, hostile planets, and scattered colonies where others thought survival was impossible. Their speed, their determination, and their refusal to yield unsettled the older races. The Korathi called them reckless upstarts. The Valeth whispered that they were too emotional, too wild, too dangerous. Even the wise Thalkar, who often spoke of patience and reason, warned that humans were unpredictable. To the ancient powers of the Alliance, unpredictability was more frightening than raw strength. In the Grand Council chambers of Illith Prime, whispers turned to plans. Humanity was growing too fast. They had fought pirates, storms, and even ancient machine remnants, and yet each trial made them stronger. Some feared that within only a few centuries, the humans might rival the oldest fleets. That possibility was unacceptable, and so a plan was born. It began with a suggestion from Admiral Takar of the Korathi Dominion. The humans were eager to prove themselves, eager to win honor among the Alliance. Why not give them a mission? A special assignment to patrol the uncharted Drawl Expanse, a dangerous region filled with storms and anomalies. A noble task, one that would show whether humanity could stand shoulder to shoulder with its betters. The Council agreed. At least on the surface, behind the official records, secret fleets were prepared. Dozens of warships cloaked in shadow, drawn from species who had no love for humanity. The plan was simple: lure the human fleet into the expanse, activate energy barriers, and close every exit. Once trapped, the humans would face overwhelming numbers. No escape, no rescue, no hope. By the time the rest of the Alliance heard the news, it would be too late. The humans would be gone, erased before their rise could threaten the balance of power. The trap was set. Captain Jonas Hale stood on the bridge of the ISS Valiant, humanity's pride, a heavy cruiser, forged in the shipyards of Mars. He stared at the swirling image of the Drawl Expanse on the holomap. Clouds of violet gas, strange green lightning storms, and fields of jagged asteroids filled the projection. It looked like chaos given shape. His crew waited quietly. Most of them were young. Humanity had only so many ships, only so many trained officers, and every mission felt heavier because of it. Still, their eyes burned with determination. They knew this assignment was more than a patrol. It was a test. Jonas's second officer, Maya Ortiz, broke the silence. "Sir, does this feel right to you? The Council's sending us here, alone." Jonas gave her a small smile. Since when has anything about the Alliance felt right? A few chuckles broke the tension. But inside, Jonas shared Maya's unease. The expanse wasn't just dangerous, it was suspicious. The timing, the secrecy, the way the other admirals had looked at him in the council chambers. Something about it all felt off. But humans did not back down from danger. They never had. From frozen tundras to burning deserts, from storms at sea to wars in the dark, humanity had always moved forward, and Jonas would not let his doubts weaken his crew now. "Set course," he ordered. "We enter the expanse at 0900. Let's show the galaxy what the children of Earth can do." The crew straightened, voices answering with sharp confidence. The Valiant's engines roared to life, and across the void, a small fleet of human ships formed up: frigates, corvettes, and support vessels. Small compared to the leviathans of the Alliance, but proud all the same. From the shadows of a distant moon, other eyes watched. Cloaked ships of the Korathi and their allies tracked the humans' every move. A whisper passed across encrypted channels. "They take the bait." Another voice, cold and sharp, replied, "Good. Once they cross the threshold, they will never leave." The humans did not hear those words. They only felt the pull of the unknown, the weight of responsibility, and the silent thrill of stepping into the dangerous frontier. Jonas stood tall, his gaze fixed on the storm-filled void ahead. He knew the risks. He felt the unease. But he also knew this. If there was a trap waiting in the dark, then humanity would face it, as they always had, with courage, with fire, and with the unshakable belief that no one, not even the most ancient powers of the galaxy, would decide their fate for them. The trap was ready to be sprung, but so were the humans. The human fleet gathered at the edge of the Droll expanse. It was a sight that stirred pride and fear at the same time. Only 15 ships in total, 1 heavy cruiser, 3 destroyers, and the rest smaller escorts. 2 other species in the Alliance. Such a force looked laughably small, but 2 humans. Each ship carried a weight far greater than its tonnage. They carried the hopes of Earth, of Mars, of every colony struggling to prove that humanity belonged among the stars. Captain Jonas Hale stood at the bridge of the ISS Valiant, hands clasped behind his back, eyes locked on the swirling maelstrom ahead. The expanse was no ordinary sector of space. Nebula clouds stretched like violet oceans, lit from within by bursts of green lightning. Fields of shattered asteroids drifted endlessly, colliding and breaking again in silent destruction. The sensors picked up gravity fluctuations, sudden energy spikes, and unexplained signals that flickered like whispers from ghosts. "Navigation confirms all ships in formation," said Ensign Carter, his voice steady but tight. "We are ready to cross the boundary, Captain." Jonas nodded. "Signal the fleet. This is it." A calm silence fell across the bridge. Everyone knew the danger. Every chart marked the expanse as unstable. Few ships had gone in, and even fewer had come back. Yet here they were, ordered by the Alliance to patrol what no one else dared to touch. Lieutenant Maya Ortiz leaned close. "Sir, do you really believe this is just a test?" Jonas glanced at her, his jaw tightening. "I believe the Alliance wants to see if we'll break." She frowned. "And if that's true, then we don't give them the satisfaction." Her eyes softened, but her voice was firm. "Aye, Captain." The countdown began. The human ships pushed forward, engines flaring bright as they pierced the veil of the nebula. The stars outside vanished behind rolling curtains of violet gas. Lightning forked silently through the clouds, making the hulls glow with ghostly light. Inside the Valiant, the crew felt the weight of the storm pressing against their nerves. The ship creaked as energy currents swept past, shaking the hull like the roar of some cosmic beast. "Radiation levels spiking, but within limits," Carter reported. "Shields holding." Jonas gave a firm nod. "Steady as she goes." Too many of his crew. This was their first mission, beyond familiar territory. Fear was natural, but fear had always been a companion of humanity. It had walked with them through plagues, through wars, through the long nights of survival on a fragile Earth, and fear had never broken them. Hours passed as the fleet pressed deeper. Strange signals flickered on the scanners. Whispers of ships that were not there. Ghostly echoes that moved just out of range. "Sir," Maya said carefully, "something's following us." Jonas studied the display. Shapes appeared, then vanished. Too large to be asteroids, too precise to be random. His gut twisted. Keep the crew focused. If someone's out there, they'll show themselves soon enough. The Valiant pressed on, weaving through glowing clouds and drifting stone fields. Each maneuver tested the pilots. Each storm tested the shields. But humanity had learned long ago to survive in hostile places. Their ancestors had crossed oceans in wooden ships, had flown fragile planes through storms, had walked on barren moons. Space was just the next frontier. Still, unease grew. The fleet was being herded. Subtle energy fluctuations pushed them along a single path, deeper and deeper into the expanse's heart. Jonas felt the trap closing even before he could see it. "Captain," Maya whispered, "this doesn't feel right. It's like someone wants us exactly here." Jonas kept his face calm for the crew's sake, but his thoughts burned. She was right. The Council's mission had been too convenient. The warnings had been too gentle. And now, the expanse itself seemed alive, guiding them toward something waiting in the dark. He looked around the bridge. Young faces, determined eyes, all trusting him to guide them through. He would not betray that trust. "Then let them try," he said softly, almost to himself. "Let them think they've caught us." At that moment, the trap began to stir. From the shadows of the nebula, vast ships powered up, cloaks peeling away like the skin of predators. Korathi cruisers, Valith destroyers, mercenary raiders, dozens upon dozens of vessels lit their weapons. In silence, their formation surrounded the human fleet. Closing every path of escape, the expanse had become a cage. On the bridge of the Valiant, alarms screamed. Shapes flooded the sensors, too many to count. Maya's voice broke the silence. "They're everywhere." Jonas's heart pounded, but his voice remained steel. "So are we. Tell the fleet, hold formation, don't give them an inch." And then, across the comms, a voice crackled, deep, mocking, dripping with satisfaction. "Humans," Admiral Takar of the Korathi sneered. "You have walked willingly into your grave. The Alliance will mourn Ubiar." The moment the human fleet crossed deeper into the Drawl expanse, the sky itself seemed to shift. The violet clouds rippled like a curtain being pulled aside. Lightning lanced through the nebula, revealing the shapes that had been hiding all along. Dozens of ships shimmered into existence. Sleek Korathi war cruisers with curved wings of steel, Valith destroyers bristling with crystal cannons, and black mercenary raiders armed with scavenged weapons. Their engines burned bright, their formations tight and disciplined. Together, they outnumbered the human fleet by nearly 20 to 1. On the bridge of the ISS Valiant, alarms wailed. The sensor board filled with red markers until it was nothing but a storm of hostile signals. The crew stared in disbelief. There, faces pale, their hands frozen above their stations. Lieutenant Maya Ortiz was the first to find her voice. "Captain, it's a trap. They've been waiting for us." Double quotes. Jonas Hale didn't move. His jaw tightened as he studied the growing circle of enemy ships closing around them. His heart beat like a drum in his chest, but his voice came out steady. "So it seems." The comms channel opened with a hiss, and a familiar, mocking voice filled the bridge. "Humans." Admiral Takar of the Korathi sneered. His scaled face appeared on the screen, his slit-pupiled eyes glowing with triumph. "You rise too quickly. You expand too far. You think yourselves equals to us, but you are not. Today, your story ends." He leaned forward, his teeth sharp, his tone dripping with contempt. "The galaxy will not remember you. Your species will fade like smoke in the void." The bridge crew shifted uncomfortably. Fear was heavy in the air, pressing against their throats like an invisible weight. But Jonas did not blink. He stepped forward, meeting the alien admiral's gaze with unflinching defiance. "Funny thing about traps," Admiral Jonas said quietly, his voice carrying like steel through the silence. "Once you spring them, you'd better make sure the prey doesn't bite back." For a brief second, the alien's smirk faltered. Then the comm snapped closed. The enemy moved. The cage slammed shut as energy fields rose around the expanse, glowing like walls of fire. The exits were sealed, every route blocked. The humans were locked inside, trapped in the middle of a storm with no escape. "Shields at maximum," Maya shouted. "All ships reporting enemy fire incoming." The nebula lit up as beams of crimson, and sapphire energy cut through the void. Explosions thundered across the human fleet. A corvette on the left flank was struck, its shields collapsing in a flash of light. The ship spun out of control, hull breaking apart as fire consumed it. "Corvette, horizon lost," cried Ensign Carter, his voice cracking. Jonas's chest ached at the sound. Every ship, every crew, was precious to humanity. They could not afford losses like the great powers could. But he buried the pain and spoke firmly. "Hold formation. Do not scatter. They want panic. Don't give it to them." The Valiant shook. As enemy fire pounded its shields, sparks rained from the ceiling, the bridge crew gripping their stations tightly. Yet still, the human ships held together, their smaller frames weaving between heavy blasts, their gunners returning fire with precision. A destroyer, the ironclad, unleashed a volley of missiles that streaked through the nebula, slamming into a Valith ship. The alien vessel staggered, its shields flickering. Cheers rose briefly from the human crew, but the enemy pressed harder, circling tighter like predators around cornered prey. "They're hurting us, sir," Maya warned, forcing us deeper into the expanse. Jonas studied the tactical map. She was right. Each wave of attacks pushed them further in, narrowing their options. He could almost feel the invisible hand guiding the battle, pressing them toward the heart of the storm. "Let them," Jonas said finally, his voice calm. Maya turned, shocked. "Sir, if they think they're in control, they'll make mistakes. We just have to survive long enough to find them." The crew exchanged nervous glances, but his steady tone gave them strength. Humanity had always survived by holding the line, by enduring storms until the tide shifted. This would be no different. Outside, the battle raged. Lightning from the nebula illuminated the chaos ships darting, fire cutting across the void, explosions blooming like fiery flowers. The expanse itself seemed alive, watching, waiting to see which side would fall. On a hidden channel, deep within the enemy fleet, Admiral Takar spoke with his allies. "The humans fight harder than expected," one Valith commander admitted. TR's lips curled into a snarl. "Let them thrash. It makes no difference. They are trapped, and there is no door out. Soon their strength will bleed dry." But Jonas Hale, standing tall on the bridge of the Valiant, had already made his choice. He knew the truth that the others had forgotten. Humanity did not fear being trapped. Humanity had lived on a fragile world, bounded by oceans and skies, yet they had broken those walls one by one. Every prison, every cage, every chain placed upon them humans, had shattered. The door had slammed shut, but Jonas's eyes burned with quiet fire. If the galaxy thought humanity was the prey, they were about to learn a very different lesson. The void burned with fire. Energy beams sliced across the nebula like lightning made solid. The human fleet fought to stay alive, shields sparking under relentless pressure. Each explosion shook the ISS Valiant, as if the very universe wanted to tear it apart. Enemy ships, pressing on all sides. Ensign Carter shouted, his hands flying across the console. "We can't hold this formation much longer." On the left flank, a human frigate, the Resolute, was hammered by 3 Korathi cruisers at once. Its hull cracked, flames bursting into the dark. But instead of retreating, the little ship turned sharply, engines burning bright. It rammed into one of the enemy vessels, detonating its last missile payload in a blinding flash. Both ships vanished in fire. The bridge of the Valiant went silent for a heartbeat. Maya Ortiz whispered, her voice heavy with grief. "They gave everything." Jonas Hale's jaw tightened, but his voice remained steady and bought us time. "Honor them by fighting harder." The words struck through the crew like steel. Grief turned to fire. The humans didn't fight like the other races. They didn't cling to polished formations or perfect battle codes. They fought with instinct, with raw will, with the desperate creativity of a species that had clawed its way out of extinction countless times before. "Focus fire on their destroyers," Jonas ordered. "Take their teeth before they bite." The Valiant's main cannons roared. Twin beams cut through the nebula, slamming into a Valith destroyer's crystal hull. The alien ship tried to maneuver away, but human gunners adjusted instantly, walking the blasts across its shields until they collapsed in a brilliant burst. Cheers erupted from the crew. One ship down, hundreds more to go. But the enemy pressed harder. More fleets stood cloaked, tightening the noose. It looked hopeless, and that was exactly what Jonas wanted them to think. Maya glanced at him, her brow furrowed. "Captain, we're barely holding. You have something in mind, don't you?" Jonas gave her the faintest smile. "They think they're hurting us. Let's make them believe it." Her eyes widened, realization dawning. "You're going to fake a retreat." "Not fake," Jonas corrected, his voice calm but sharp. "We'll give them exactly what they want. Let them think we're panicking, running deeper into the expanse. If they believe the prey is cornered, they'll chase without caution." The crew exchanged nervous glances. It was risky, too risky, but humanity had always survived by risking what others would not. Jonas stepped forward, his voice carrying across the bridge. "Listen to me. They want to crush us here. They think this cage is their victory. But we don't fight on their terms. We fight on ours. Every move we make, every sacrifice, is a step toward turning their trap against them. If you trust me, if you trust each other, then we will make them regret ever trying to cage humanity." The silence that followed was not fear. It was conviction. Each officer straightened, fire burning in their eyes. "Aye, Captain," Maya said, her voice firm. "We trust you." The order went out. Human ships began to fall back in staggered bursts, firing wildly, their formations breaking. To the enemy, it looked like panic. Korathi commanders laughed, sending their fleets forward in pursuit. "See how they scatter," one hissed. "The humans finally understand their place." But inside the Valiant, every retreating maneuver was calculated, every feigned mistake, part of a larger design. The humans weren't running, they were guiding. "Status of the fleet?" Jonas asked. "Loss is heavy," Carter admitted, his voice low. "But the others follow the plan. We're pulling them deeper, just as you wanted." Jonas nodded, eyes fixed on the tactical map. The expanse twisted ahead, nebulous storms, collapsing gravity wells, unstable fields of dark matter. To other species, it was chaos. To humans, it was opportunity. They had studied these dangers, mapped the anomalies. Where the enemy saw death, Jonas saw weapons waiting to be used. The Valiant dove between two asteroid fields, lightning flashing across its hull, as if the storm itself had chosen to cloak it. Enemy ships followed recklessly, their confidence blinding them to the danger. Maya leaned closer, whispering so only Jonas could hear, "You're playing with fire." Jonas's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Good, because fire is the one thing humanity knows how to wield best." Another explosion lit the void as a human destroyer, the Defiance, dropped behind the formation, covering the retreat with a volley of missiles. The enemy answered with overwhelming fire, tearing the ship apart. Yet it sank. The nebula grew darker as the fleet pressed deeper. Clouds of ionized gas shimmered with blue and violet, like storm clouds glowing from within. Lightning flashed across the void, illuminating the twisted silhouettes of asteroids drifting through. Gravity wells? The expanse was a graveyard of broken stars. Most species avoided it. Humans now ran into it, chased by fire. The human fleet staggered, limping from its wounds. Half the ships were already gone. Hulls burned, shields flickered, engines stuttered. From the outside, it looked like chaos. To the enemy, it looked like victory. "Keep formation broken," Captain Jonas Hale ordered, his voice calm despite the storm around him, scattered just enough. make them believe. On the bridge of the ISS Valiant, every officer carried silent grief. They had lost friends. The Resolute, the Defiance, dozens more, yet not one of them faltered. Their eyes burned with something stronger than fear, determination. Ensign Carter's voice cracked as he reported, "We're down to 60 ships. 60 from 120. Maya Ortiz closed her eyes for a moment. Each number was a life, a crew, a sacrifice. She opened them again and straightened her shoulders. 60 is enough. Jonas heard her, and though he said nothing, his jaw tightened. Yes, 60 was enough. Behind them, the Valith fleet surged forward, cruisers with crystal hulls, destroyers with wings of plasma, Korthi warships, shaped like blades. They hunted with arrogance, laughing across their channels. Push them deeper, Admiral Takar hissed from his flagship. His spines rattled, in excitement. Humans are stubborn vermin, but even vermin drown when the waters rise. The traps seemed to be closing. But the Admiral could not see what Jonas saw. The human fleet reached the edge of a dark sector of the expanse. Here the light bent strangely, like reality itself was warping. Faint shadows twisted through the void, too large and too wrong to be asteroids. It was the Maw, a region where collapsing gravity wells danced unpredictably. To enter it was madness. To flee into it was suicide. Jonas stood tall at the command deck, eyes fixed on the swirling darkness ahead. Carter, mark the wells. Maya, align the fleet for entry. We go in together. Maya's eyes widened. You mean to lead them into the Maw? Jonas finally looked at her, calm as stone. We've been running long enough. Time to turn. The crew went silent. The Maw was a nightmare, even in simulations. No one survived inside. But as they studied Jonas's face, their fear shifted into something else: trust. "Aye, Captain," Maya said. "Steady now." Orders flowed. Engines adjusted. Hull plating reinforced. The fleet slipped into the darkness. The effect was immediate. The Maw seemed alive, pulling at ships with invisible claws. Engines strained. Gravity shifted unpredictably, dragging ships sideways, twisting trajectories. Lightning storms tore across space, white-hot and merciless. The human fleet danced through it with practiced precision. Their years of charting anomalies, of surviving chaos on fragile ships, gave them instincts no other race had. Where Valith cruisers plowed forward with brute force, humans threaded needles of gravity with nimble grace. On the Valiant, alarms screamed, "Incoming gravity wave!" Carter shouted, "Bank left, 40 degrees." Jonas barked, "Ride it. Don't fight it." The ship tilted, caught by the invisible current, and for a terrifying moment, it seemed they would be pulled into a crushing well. Then the engines flared, spinning them out the other side, barely intact. The enemy was not so fortunate. One Valith destroyer tried to follow directly. Its hull twisted as the gravity wave caught it, stretching the ship like taffy before tearing it apart. A burst of blue fire marked its grave. The human crew erupted in cheers. For the first time in the battle, they saw not only survival, but hope. Jonas's eyes narrowed. "Don't cheer yet. This is only the beginning." And he was right. More enemy ships poured in, reckless and overconfident. They thought the humans were cornered, desperate. They did not realize the Maw itself had become humanity's weapon. Maya watched the tactical map, her fingers trembling. "Jonas, if this fails," he cut her off with a quiet, steady voice. "It won't fail. Not because of me. Not because of you. It won't fail because humanity doesn't know how to surrender." The words sank deep into the crew. Their fear hardened into steel. Another wave struck. Human ships darted aside, using the gravitational pull to slingshot forward. Enemy ships tried to copy, but their formations collapsed, slamming into asteroids or colliding with each other. The Maw punished arrogance. Jonas leaned closer to Maya. Signal to fleet. Phase 2 begins now. She nodded, transmitting on secure channels. The scattered human ships suddenly shifted, breaking their false retreat. They turned as one, their guns blazing. Beams, missiles, and plasma fire lit the void. The hunters had become the hunted. Enemy fleets reeled in shock. Admiral Takar snarled, in fury. What are they doing? This is madness. Madness, yes. But it was human madness, sharpened into strategy. A human cruiser, the Iron Star, cut across the battlefield, luring 3 enemy frigates toward a gravity rift. At the last second, it veered away. The frigates plunged in, torn apart by the singularities. Invisible jaws. On the Valiant, Jonas's eyes burned like fire. They thought this was a cage. No, this is our battlefield. And here, we decide who survives. The humans were still outnumbered, still bleeding. But now, the tide was shifting. Each death had purpose, each maneuver a strike at the heart of their enemy's arrogance. The maw roared around them, lightning tearing the dark apart, gravity bending the stars themselves. And in that chaos, humanity found its strength. Jonas whispered, almost to himself, "You wanted to trap us. You should have remembered we're the species that breaks cages." The battle was no longer about escape. It was about turning the expanse into humanity's weapon. And as the first enemy fleets began to fall, the truth became clear. The door of the trap was not closing on the humans. It was closing on the ones who dared to hunt them. The nebula became darker as the human fleet went deeper inside. Clouds of blue and purple gas glowed faintly, like storm clouds filled with hidden fire. Strange lightning flashed across the void, lighting up drifting rocks that looked like broken bones of dead stars. This place was known as the Maw, a region feared by every race. Most ships never came out alive. The humans entered it on purpose. Their fleet was broken and wounded. Once they had 120 ships. Now only 60 remained. Hulls were cracked, shields were weak, engines shook with every move. To anyone watching, it looked like the humans were finished. On the bridge of the ISS Valiant, Captain Jonas Hale stood calm, his eyes on the black storms ahead. His voice cut through the noise. "Keep our formation scattered. Let them believe we are running blind." The crew obeyed, though grief was heavy in their hearts. They had lost friends, brothers, sister ships that would never return. Ensign Carter's voice shook as he gave the numbers. "Captain, 60 ships left." Maya Ortiz closed her eyes for a second, her chest tight with pain. Then she straightened and whispered, 60 is enough." Jonas heard her. He didn't reply, but a small fire lit in his eyes. Yes, 60 was enough. Behind them, the enemy fleet surged like a storm. Valith cruisers with crystal hulls glittered like knives. Korathi warships, long and sharp, cut through the void. They were laughing in their comms, sure of their victory. Admiral Takar, their leader, hissed with joy. "Push them forward. The humans are trapped. Let them choke inside the maw." The trap looked perfect. But the Admiral could not see what Jonas saw. The Valiant entered the shadow of the maw. The stars around them bent strangely, light twisting like water. Invisible gravity wells pulled at their ships like claws. Asteroids drifted in circles, breaking apart, then vanishing into nothing. The maw was alive, and Jonas intended to make it fight for humanity. "Carter," Jonas said calmly, "mark the wells. Maya, align the fleet. We enter together." Maya's voice was tight. "Jonas, you want to take the fleet inside the maw?" He turned to her. "Steady as stone. We've been running long enough. Now we fight." For a moment, silence held the bridge. The maw was death itself. No one went in willingly. But as they looked at their captain, their fear turned into something else. "Trust," Maya nodded, her voice firm. "Aye, Captain, The human fleet crossed the line. At once, chaos swallowed them. Gravity pulled ships sideways. Lightning storms ripped across the black sky. Engines screamed as they fought invisible currents. Gravity wave incoming. Carter shouted. Bank left, 40 degrees. Jonas barked. Don't fight it, ride it. The Valiant tilted, pulled dangerously close to a crushing black well. The ship groaned, but then the engines flared, slingshotting them free. For a heartbeat, everyone held their breath. Then the ship broke through, still alive. Behind them, a Valith destroyer tried to follow. It wasn't built for chaos. The gravity tore it apart, stretching the ship until it snapped in a burst of blue fire. The humans cheered. For the first time, hope lit their faces. But Jonas only said quietly, "Don't cheer yet. This is just the beginning." More enemy ships entered, chasing blindly. They thought the humans were desperate prey. They didn't understand that the humans had turned the Maw into a battlefield. Human ships darted between gravity wells like dancers in a storm. They had spent centuries surviving the harshness of space. They knew how to adapt, how to think fast, how to fight with nothing. The other races had power, but not this kind of skill. On the map, Maya saw enemy formations collapse. Ships smashed into Az. The Maw had quieted, but the void was still alive with wreckage. Broken ships floated like ghosts, and fires burned silently across drifting asteroids. The humans moved carefully, their fleet battered but unbroken. Each ship bore scars, each crew carried loss, yet their eyes held something stronger than fear. Determination. Captain Jonas Hale stood on the bridge of the ISS Valiant, watching the remnants of the enemy retreat. His jaw was tight, but his eyes gleamed. "They underestimated us," he said quietly, "and they paid the price." Lieutenant Maya Ortiz leaned forward, fingers tracing the map. "Sir, some of them are escaping. Small wings, damaged but fast. If we pursue." Jonas nodded. "Then we pursue. Humanity doesn't leave unfinished business. Not ever." The fleet reformed. Engines hummed with steady power. The survivors of the trap had a single goal: show the galaxy that humanity could survive the impossible and that they would not be ignored. "Coordinate attacks," Jonas ordered. "Pick them off before they can regroup. Use the Maw's edges to our advantage. Drive them into dead ends." The remaining Corinthian Valith ships realized too late what had happened. Their overconfidence had led them straight into the humans' trap. Now, as they tried to flee through collapsing asteroid belts and energy storms, they were forced to fight on humanity's terms. A small human frigate, the Phoenix, darted forward with precision, missiles streaking through space to cut off a Valith scout. The enemy vessel tried to maneuver, but misjudged the gravity currents. It collided with a drifting asteroid and exploded silently, its remains scattering like ashes. "Target destroyed," reported Ensign Carter, a mix of relief and awe in his voice. Jonas's gaze stayed on the tactical display. Every ship mattered. Every life mattered. Humanity had lost much, but they had not lost hope. That was something no weapon, no trap, could ever take. The Valiant turned, leading the fleet along the twisted paths of the Maw. Ships moved in perfect coordination, not because of algorithms or advanced AI, but because of trust forged through centuries of survival, of war, of building fragile colonies across hostile worlds. Maya glanced at her captain. "It's almost poetic," she said softly. "They tried to trap us, and now we're the ones choosing where they fall." Jonas's eyes softened. "That's the thing about humanity. We survive, we endure, and when cornered, we fight harder than anyone expects." As the fleet pressed on, the enemy realized they were surrounded. Every route was blocked by human ships, every escape path funneled into traps laid with surgical precision. For the first time, Admiral Tekar Saragans faltered there. "Calculating, a Korathi," Commander admitted, voice trembling. How can a species so small be this coordinated? Tekar roared in anger. No, they were supposed to be the prey. But the humans were no longer prey. They moved like a storm, relentless and clever, turning chaos into advantage. The Maw had become their ally, not their enemy. The very forces that were meant to destroy them now tore through their foes. Jonas's eyes caught a cluster of escaping enemy ships, attempting a narrow jump through a collapsed gravity rift. Maya, take the lead. Cut them off. Maya's hands flew over her controls. Aye, Captain. The Valiant surged forward, engines blazing. Every ship in the fleet followed, weaving a web of fire and energy. Missiles streaked past, beams cut through the void, and enemy ships collided with asteroid debris or each other. One by one, the fleeing vessels were destroyed or captured. The crew worked as one. Fear had turned into focus, grief into fuel. Every ship that had fallen earlier had paved the way for this moment. Every life lost became a spark that ignited the others' determination. Jonas's voice was calm, almost serene. We will not leave anyone behind. We finish this for them, and for everyone who believed in humanity. Hours passed in a blur of maneuvers, fire, and calculated destruction. By the time the smoke of the Maw cleared, the enemy fleet was scattered, crippled, or destroyed. Human ships were battered, but still moving, still alive. And for the first time, the crew could feel something like victory, not just over the aliens, but over the fear and doubt that had shadowed them. Maya looked out into the void, her voice barely a whisper. We did it. We actually did it. Jonas didn't answer immediately. He only watched the stars outside the nebula, thinking of every human who had ever been underestimated, dismissed, or thought too weak. Then he spoke. Quietly, but with authority. Humanity isn't strong because we have the biggest fleets or the deadliest weapons. We're strong because we never give up, because we fight when others would surrender, because we find ways out of impossible situations, and we do it together. A silence followed, not empty, but filled with respect, awe, and the unspoken bond of shared survival. Carter broke it, voice trembling with emotion. Captain, what now? Jonas turned to his crew. Now we go home, and the galaxy will remember this day. The day humanity turned a trap into a triumph. The day no one underestimated us again. The crew cheered, relief and pride flooding through them. Ships limped together through the remnants of the Maw, battered but unbowed. Every light on the fleet seemed brighter, each human face shining with hard-won determination. And somewhere deep in the shattered remnants of the enemy fleet, the truth had sunk in. Humans were unlike any other species. They were unpredictable, unbreakable, and fearless. Jonas looked out at the stars, voice soft but carrying across the bridge. Let them remember this. We are human, and we never back down. The crew of the Valiant echoed him silently with their hearts. Humanity had risen from the ashes, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. The battlefield was quiet now, but silence in space was deceptive. Broken ships floated like tombstones, and fires flickered across shattered hulls. The human fleet, battered yet intact, drifted carefully through the remnants of the Maw. Each ship carried scars of the battle. Each crew bore the weight of lives lost, but their eyes burned with triumph. Captain Jonas Hale stood on the bridge of the Valiant, watching the stars swirl beyond the nebula. The enemy was shattered, retreating in fragments, their arrogance completely broken. Yet Jonas knew better than to assume the fight was over. Carter, he said quietly, scanned for any remaining hostile vessels. Don't assume any are safe. Yes, Sir Carter replied. Sensors picked up tiny signature small wings, damaged, but still capable of escape. A few stragglers, weak, isolated, trying to slip past. Maya Ortiz stepped forward, her face set with determination. We can catch them, Captain. It's our chance to end this completely. Jonas nodded, Then we end it. Humanity doesn't leave threats behind. The remaining enemy ships tried to flee through the expanse's edges, but Jonas anticipated their moves. The humans had studied every pattern, every anomaly in the maw. They didn't just survive chaos, they controlled it. The Valiant surged forward, leading a precision strike. Human destroyers and frigates split into coordinated waves, guiding the fleeing ships into gravitational dead zones. The enemy's engines faltered, their hulls twisted in ways no other species could anticipate. "This is incredible," Maya whispered, watching a small Korathi frigate collide with debris perfectly timed by human missiles. "They can't escape." Jonas's voice was calm, almost soft. "They never had a chance." But it's not just the weapons or the strategy. It's what they can't measure: the human will. Indeed, the remaining aliens tried every trick, every evasive maneuver. But humans had a trait no other species possessed: unpredictable courage. Where the aliens assumed fear would dominate, humans thrived on it. Where they expected retreat, humans countered with boldness. A Valith scout attempted a narrow escape through a collapsing rift. It screamed as gravity ripped at it, but the humans had anticipated the path. A single human frigate nudged a nearby asteroid with a precisely timed pulse. The asteroid struck the scout, tearing it apart. The remaining alien ships faltered, panic spreading. "Admiral Takar, they're impossible," one Korathi commander admitted. "We can't predict them." And he was right. Predictability was the enemy of humanity. And now it was humanity's greatest weapon. Jonas turned to Maya, prepared the final phase. The door is about to close. Every human ship aligned with meticulous timing, using the expanse itself as a tool. Gravity wells, rifts, and asteroid fields became part of their strategy. The humans didn't just fight the enemy, they reshaped the battlefield to their advantage. "Final signal sent," Maya reported. "All ships in position." Jonas's eyes scanned the void one last time. "Then we finish this." The Valiant surged forward, leading the fleet through a precise pattern. Enemy ships were funneled, cornered, and trapped. One by one, each vessel met its doom, not through brute force alone, but through human ingenuity and bravery. The aliens had tried to trap humanity, but in the end, they had walked straight into the humans' carefully crafted closure. In the center of the maw, a small pocket of enemy ships realized their fate. "Retreat," they yelled, but their paths were blocked, every exit sealed by human strategy. The very chaos they had hoped to exploit was now their executioner. Jonas watched as the last few ships struggled, and then, one by one, they broke apart or surrendered. Human ships held firm, not a single vessel left behind. Each action was precise, calculated, and humane. Humanity had proven it could fight without cruelty, yet still achieve victory. Carter let out a deep breath. They're gone, sir. All remaining hostiles neutralized. Maya's shoal